Nines, so in this video we're going to take you through how to make various jewellery items out of polymer clay. So we're going to look at beading, making beads, earrings and turning those beads into things like key rings and lanyards. This is Alyssa and she actually has her own little business making jewellery items out of polymer clay. So she's here today to take us through some tips and tricks that she has on how to make these various items.
Okay, hi everyone. I have my own business and it's called AMC Designs. So basically what I do is from a block of clay, I turn them into lanyards, key rings, earrings and everything like that. I've been going to markets and advertising my brand now for about 2 years. So I'm going to run you through some tips and tricks that I've learned that might be helpful to you.
So first of all, the things that you'll be needing, everyone's going to get a little kit like this. So it has a rolling pin on it. Now on the side, these little rubber sections here are to determine the thickness of the beads that you're making. Okay, so we'll be able to play around with this and it depends on what you actually want to make, whether it's earrings or like something for a pendant or a brooch. Okay, it will determine the thickness. So this all goes into your planning. You'll be given a set of various tools, okay, so you can poke little holes into it, leave some little patterns and marks on any of your beads. Get a little spatula that helps to pick them up and transfer them onto the baking tray. We then have heaps of different cutters, so we have some ovals, diamonds, circles, and some other little shapes that can all be used to cut out your clay for whatever design you're choosing. So when it comes to making things with polymer clay, there aren't many safety concerns to have to consider. All right. Obviously, one of them will be that when you're using the clay, it's touching your hands. All right. So you're not then touching any part of your face or ingesting the clay at all. You're wearing old clothes or an apron. All right. And some of you, if you like, you can wear gloves. However, when making beads like this, it does leave imprints in the beads and affects the final outcome of those. The clay also needs to be baked in the oven, okay? And I know that when it's over baked, it does release gases that can be potentially harmful, all right? So it's important that when you pop them in the oven that you're keeping a close eye on them to make sure that you're not overcooking them.
They also do crack if you cook them for too long, so make sure you're keeping an eye on the time.
Cool. All right, so we're going to take you through now how to make a bead.
Right, so first of all you want to start with whatever colour you desire. We might use blue today. Blue?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically the brand I use is Sculpey.
And that's the brand that we'll be using at school as well. And you can buy this from Spotlight. It's about $5.50 a packet. And sometimes they have specials on them where it's buy two and get one free. So it works out quite well if you want to buy some of these for yourself.
Cool. So first of all what I do is I just open up the packet and grab your clay out. What you want to do is you want to make sure that your hands are clean. So always washing your hands first because there's little dust particles that get caught in your hands. When you roll your bead, you can find there's lots of little dust stuck in there. And especially if you're working with white, it does look quite dirty sometimes. So all I do is I just, with my knife.
Now how much makes a bead?
So a block of this, I usually get 12 beads out of. So you can see that the block has lines on it. So it's broken down into 4 sections. So what I do is I cut along them lines. Like this. Cut on all 4. We might just do this one for now. And then cut that section into 3 as well. Now this one is just a bit of an eyeball, but if you want, you can grab your ruler out and make sure you're getting it spot on. Okay? Once you've done that, all you want to do, so you've got your 3 little bits here. Did you want to make one?
Yeah.
All we're going to do is I start by pushing in the corners like this to make it into a rounder shape. We've already got a square, so that's not a bad place to start. And then you just want to put it in the palm of your hand like this, and I just roll. Now it is a little bit time consuming, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be there. So make sure, and you can,
mine's real wonky.
You can see that it's got your handprints and stuff in there as well. So I usually keep playing around with it to make it like a ball and then put it back in my hand and keep rolling, alright? Okay, so you can see you can make any kind of shape. You can make a circle, an oval, whatever you desire. But you can see here that, how's your bead looking? Good? Perfect. So you can see it's nice and round. What I do next is I use a little screwdriver to put my holes in there. Something that you guys could use is like a knitting needle or something like that, because you want it quite thick so that you can thread the string through it. Okay? What I do to thread it is I place it in my thumb here. I put it here, right? Because if you put it in between your fingers, you're going to squish it as you try and squeeze it. So I then get this and just gently twist like this and flip it over halfway through. You can see that the screwdriver begins to poke out of the end of it. Maybe.
Yeah.
I then gently pull it back out, put it in upside down, and then go from the tiny little hole again, like so. If you want to try. Now you can see that my bead is a nice shape and it's got a nice straight hole through it.
Oh gosh, mine's not straight. It is quite tricky.
It is quite fiddly.
Push it through because you have to be firm but not too firm because I've really distorted my bead here.
If that happens though, you can always just start again rolling it. Just be mindful, the more times that you're playing with it in your hand, the hotter it gets. So the more it's going to stick to your hands, the harder it's going to be to roll, the more fingerprints it's going to get into it. So if you're finding that one piece of clay maybe just isn't working for you, maybe set it aside, try another one, and then come back to it later once it's cooled down a little bit.
Now, how many beads do you generally make for your key rings and for your lanyards?
So on my key rings, I put 3 to 4 beads. So this is one of my key rings here. So you can see 4 beads, just because I wouldn't personally want anything longer hanging on my keys. But again, that's up to you. So I usually go for 3 to 4 beads, and then for my lanyards, I go for 5. Just because I think it looks a bit better with an odd number hanging. Again, you could do 3, you could do however many you want, but I tend to go for 5 and 4. Right, so when I'm making my beads for my lanyards and key rings, I want to make sure that they stand out. I don't want to just have plain colours, I want to make sure that people want to purchase them and are happy with their purchase. So, to do that, I have come up with some fun beads. So, these ones here, if you can see, are my marble beads. How I do that is basically I just get 2 lots of clay, 2 different colours, and roll them out like a snake. So I want one colour as a snake and one as the other. Then I twist them together and just keep twisting, twisting, twisting. And then like I showed you before, once you've rolled it all out, so you kind of want it to look like this. The 2 pieces of clay intertwined together and in a kind of shape like this. All you're then going to do is cut them into even blocks and roll them just like we did with the blue ones. Sounds complicated, but if you give it a try, it's quite simple. The next one here, I have in a few different colours. Let me just find some. Okay, so I've got these 2 different ones here. If you can see, they're just white beads and they've got some little polka dots on there. So basically, what I do with them ones is roll out your plain white bead and then grab whatever 2 colours of clay you want, pick off a tiny little bit and put it on there. And I've done them overlapping, so you can see that I've got 2 different shades of pink on here, just to make it look a bit cuter. And on here, I've gone for brown and black. On my key rings here, we've got teal and baby blue. So with them ones, you just want to put a little dab of clay, and I put them next to each other, and then just lightly rolling over them so that it becomes a flat surface again. And then they go in the oven to bake. This one here is a little bit different. So what I've done with this one, if you can see, I've got the 2 there. All I've done is, again, like with them 2 colours, however, I've just picked one. So you roll out your bead, put one little bit of colour on there, and then using your tools, so probably use something like this one, you just want to gently put some little dots in there. That gives it some nice texture and just makes them look a bit more fun and exciting. Now, I haven't used a lot of these tools, but even with your earrings and stuff, you'd be able to print in patterns with ones like these. You'd be able to make little dents and stuff in your earrings, which I have made some before. Unfortunately, we've sold out. I've sold out of my earrings, and I haven't made much more stock since we're not doing markets because of COVID. But I will attach some photos to the video so you guys can see some kind of designs. Yeah, they are all pretty simple, just need to be creative. Alrighty, do you want to make some earrings?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll try a different colour this time. All I do when I'm making earrings, make sure your knife is clean of the other colour first. and again cutting on that line. What I usually do is use about 1 bar per set of earrings, okay? Do you want to make some?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm just taking this off. I feel like the one that gives you the thicker
yeah, you want them to be
size.
a bit thicker.
Yep.
Right, so just start by rolling this one out into a nice shape. Okay, cool. So once you've got it nice and flat,
Definitely easier on a harder surface than with the matte. And this wasn't clean because I can see.
yeah, so you really want to make sure that your rolling pin and everything's clean, because you can see how much dust has come into that one.
If you can see on here, down the bottom, there is some dust marks, and up the top there from where the baking paper wasn't clean. So you need to make sure that it's clean to avoid leaving any marks on your clay.
Perfect. So once you've got your little piece of clay, what I like to do for my earrings when I'm making patterns on them is utilize my scraps. The block of clay is $5, which doesn't really seem like a lot, but if you keep throwing out this much every time, then you are just wasting it. Okay, so all I've got here, I've got some, what kind of colour do you want? We've got khaki.
I like khaki.
Khaki? Or I might just give you a chunk and you can pick out some colours from there. Okay, so I'm going to go with some khaki and some white. What I like to do when I'm doing my earrings is just, again, this is how we would have done the beads. Break off little bits of khaki or whatever colour you want to use and just sandwich them on top. Now, they don't have to be even because we are going to go over it again with the rolling pin, so don't stress too much about that. Right, so once you're happy with your colour, all you're going to do is grab your rolling pin again and you want to go straight back over it. Because we've got the guides on our rolling pin, it's going to be the exact same width that we need, so it comes out as a flat surface. So as you can see here, I've got my pink base with all the little khaki bits on it, and I've even thrown some white in there. Perfect. Now you can add as much colour or as little colour as you want to these. You can do a solid colour, whatever you want. Now, I'm going to go for a small circle cutter. So this one here, if you can see that. Perfect. Now, I just like to use the small one because if you look at your earlobe, it's not that big. So if you're using them really, really big ones, you might want to look at having them a bit dangly because they're not going to sit in there nicely. Right. Then you just cut away. So you want to cut like that. And if you're lucky enough, it will stay inside the cutter. And all you have to do from there is take it over to our baking tray, which I'll bring a bit closer, and plop it straight on top, just like that. Okay, and then just keep cutting. Remember, when you are cutting them, try and keep them nice and close together. Just because we don't really want to be wasting a whole lot of clay. We don't want to use this much clay for 2 earrings. You want to get as many as you can out of there. And even if they don't look like the perfect pair, trust me, people like them a bit different. And you just want to make sure you're getting an even amount of earrings out of them. You don't want to be making 7 of these and then you've got 1 left as straight. So always make an even number so you've got pairs. Just like that. Okay, so this bit here, all I would do is fold it up, and to store my clay I always wrap it in Glad wrap just so that it doesn't get dusty and that it stays nice and fresh. This one's probably been stored for 6 months and it's fine. You just need to make sure it's in Glad wrap so it stays nice and fresh. I'm going to go ahead and use this tool here. So basically all I'm going to do is nice and gently just press into the khaki bits. Now you want to be careful when using these tools not to be pushing your finger really deep into the clay because your fingerprint will stay in there. Cool. So if we want to do an up close, you can see that I've done them two earrings there, and you can see the little patterns I've made in there just using this tool here. Another one we could do, again, I haven't used all of these tools, so I'm experimenting as well. But that's the good thing about clay, is you can experiment, and at the end of the day you might just have to re-roll it again, but it's not going to be the end of the world. This one here gives off a nice shell, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one on each side, and I don't know if you can see that, but that's made a nice little indent in there. So if you had a plain pair of earrings, a plain colour, solid colour, and then you've gone and put that pattern in there, it really brings something to it. If you want to make dangly earrings, obviously you're going to have to pre-put the holes in there to attach them to each other. So basically all I would use for that is a toothpick. Now you want to make sure there's no bits of excess wood or anything peeling off that toothpick. Make sure it's nice and clean. And all you're going to do is right at the top of your bead, poking a hole in it. Again, light with the fingers. You really need to be light with your fingers so you're not leaving fingerprints all over the beads. And you can see that that's got a little hole in it, and that's ready to go for if we were making dangly earrings. Once these ones were baked, all we would have to do is get a clasp and we could join them together like that. So you would have them, dangly earrings like that. You just want to make sure when you're putting the holes in it, you're not putting it too close to the edge, because at the end of the day, the clay is only quite thin and it could break quite easily. Okay, so make sure the hole isn't right on the edge. Make sure it's a little bit in so that they're a bit more sturdy. I would also recommend that these earrings are not to be worn in the shower, as they do not last. They are delicate, so you do need to be careful with them. But yeah, at the end of the day, just have fun and see what you can make.
So as you can see, we have heaps of different shapes, okay? So it's all up to you to be creative. I know that not all earrings are made from just 2 circles. There might be an oval hanging down from a circle. You can make them dangly. You can just turn them into studs. It's totally up to you what you would like to do. And this should all have come to light when you completed the design process. So none of this will happen before you finish the booklet and the worksheet where you're investigating the styles that you like, the colors that you'd like to look at, what tools you would prefer to use to create patterns or something like that, okay? Now I will say that if you are going to make a keyring or a lanyard, because of the quantity of clay that it uses, you'll just be making one. However, if it's something like earrings, okay, it's best to work with others because not everyone's going to use the same color clay, so you'll be able to swap around and share, and you will be able to make a couple of pairs of earrings. Now, when it comes time to baking, what has to happen here?
So it's about 15 minutes per inch of clay. So essentially, just depends how thick you're making them. If you are going to use our guide of making 12 beads from 1 block of clay, I usually bake them for 25 minutes to half an hour on about 130.
So it's a low heat for
a low heat for a long time. You don't really want to put them in there on 200. The clay will burn. So you want to make sure the oven's nice and low and cooking them slow, kind of thing.
How do you tell when they're ready?
When they're ready, they still feel a bit soft, but you can see that the kind of outside of them, if you can see there, it's not as shiny.
Okay,
and they start to feel dull. Yeah, it's a bit duller. They do change colour slightly, but yeah. When you take them out and they're still hot, don't play around with them because you can make them crack as well if you're playing around with them too much. So just let them cool down, and they usually cool pretty quickly, and then yeah, you're good to start threading them onto your key rings.
Lovely. So we've got lots of things available at school. So we've got rope like this for the lanyards and for key rings. We have little earring hooks and clasps that you can make studs from, or ones that you can actually make dangly earrings with. So it'll be using jewelers' tools and things like that. So one practical lesson is going to be making and designing your earrings like this, and then in the other double lesson you're going to bring it together to actually finish off your final product and complete an evaluation. Now we have heaps of tools here, and as you can see from today's video, make sure that you have your station set up like this. Make sure that you take your time and make sure that you work with others around you to share bits of clay and to share the cutters and to share the tools and to share ideas, okay? It's really creative, okay? And you can make anything as big as you want or as small as you want. You can have as many ideas, put in as many patterns, or have it nice and plain and simple. It's totally up to you. So thank you, Alyssa. I'll pop her details on the end of this video if you want to check them out. So you are
AMC Designs on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, like I said, we haven't done many markets because of COVID, but hopefully we'll be back up and running soon.
And also, if anyone needs any help or anyone wants to do some of this in their spare time and make some more, you'll be able to DM her and she'll definitely give us some tips and tricks and be able to help us out. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye.